You are live now, ma'am.
A very good evening to all our viewers and a warm welcome to our panelists. We thank you for being here with us on this doubly special day, Gandhi Jayanti, and of course the festive season. And today we are going to talk about a webinar which tells us how to keep our calm and deal with the crisis effectively. There's a very apt saying, you make plans and then life happens. I haven't heard of a better definition of a crisis. So we are professionals in a very difficult profession at times, doing our work normally, and suddenly there's a medical legal crisis in front of us. You know, somebody blames us for things which don't go the way they should, or we lose a patient. And what most people don't realize is that, you know, only the very experienced and good professionals will take on complicated cases. So they're sometimes not able to see that perspective. And all of us are very experienced people, intelligent, but still, in a crisis, there are some things which happen which, you know, suddenly paralyze you. And the 3 or 4 things which happen in a crisis, which really, you know, demand your resources are the following. And one is that, you know, your body stops reacting, your richest resource, which is your own body and mind, stops cooperating at that time. Your mind may be clouded with fear, your heart may be beating fast. And, you know, what do you do in such a situation? So one of our panelists, Dr. Vimal, is going to be just telling us that, how to be very calm so that you can use your own body. The second problem we face in a crisis is a lot of tasks. So there are a lot of tasks which were going on, and suddenly this crisis happens, so those tasks are left unfinished. This crisis creates a new set of tasks. So you wish you were like Durga Ma with 8 arms to tackle so many things. But since you practically can't, what do you need? You need a lot of help. So that is what our other 2 speakers, Dr. Anupma, Dr. Deepwala, are going to tell us. How can we reach out to our friends for help? Who to reach out to, how to reach out to, so that they can help us. The third thing is that you have to make decisions very rapidly, because unless you think very fast on your feet, the patient could deteriorate, the situation could escalate. And we are not computers to be able to process our minds so fast. So we wish there was a button we could press and things happen magically. But yes, there are processes, you know, the people before us have been smart enough to put codes in hospitals in place. It's literally like pressing a button. You press the button and the codes start working. So Dr. Anchal is going to tell us how these codes work. And finally, you know, when you've been through this horrible medical legal crisis, you've literally been through the ringer, you have to get back on your feet and move on, you know, stand rising strong, as they say. So Dr. Gupta is going to tell us how we get back on our feet, how we, you know, have so many medical legal resources at our disposal to safeguard us and to continue working. But first of all, I would like to invite the General Secretary of Women Ophthalmic Society, Dr. Mohita, to say a few words. She hardly needs any introduction because she holds so many, she's such a familiar face. She holds so many positions. She's General Secretary of state, national, international organizations. She's won so many awards. She's a presenter at so many conferences. So she's going to speak to us and she'll tell us, why is this project named Project Archana? What is the thought behind it? What is she trying to do for all of us? How is she trying to help all the women here when she thought of this project? And what is her vision for it for the future? So it is my great pleasure to invite Dr. Mohita to say a few words to us.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Anjali. I just share my presentation. Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Anjali, and welcome everybody to this webinar. And this is an idea which was conceived a few months back. Though this project Archana has always been the need of the hour, but there was one event where a doctor committed a suicide. She was a gynecologist, and this was in Rajasthan. That when this happened, this propelled some of us to discuss and get started with the project. So I must thank Dr. Anjali, who took the initiative of taking this forward. She's always there for any social causes, and she also heads the the social initiative wing of Women Ophthalmologist Society. And I want to thank Dr. Rohit Shetty also, who also basically it was his idea, and he said that we should start working on it. He's one of our main advisors and vice chairperson of Narayan Netralaya in Bangalore. So here today, what I will do is I'll give you a short overview of what Project Archana is all about. We got started a few months back. We started working on it, and now we want to, implement it full-fledged, and that's why all these activities have started. As doctors, this is what we are used to. We are used to seeing happy patients, and when we take our Hippocratic oath and we start working, we expect that there will be a lot of happy patients, and we went into a noble profession, and there'll be a lot of thankful patients, and with time we get used to hearing these words about it, about ourselves, that this is a noble profession. Doctors are next to God. And some of our patients, since we are ophthalmologists, they would say, you brought back colors in my life, or they would say, you saved my life, or they would say that, doctor, I become better, half better whenever I talk to you. So when we hear all this every day, we feel happy, and we feel that we joined a good profession, and we are happy people. But with time, we realize that there are some new challenges that are there today in our profession. And this is in the form of dissatisfied patients, angry patients, violent patients, and mobs. And this is despite putting in all our best efforts forwards and using our best possible clinical acumen as per our capability. And this is something which is not taught in our curriculum. And this is something which we do not expect. And hence comes the need of something like Project Archana, where we have to learn how to deal with all this, and we need support to deal with all this. So the first activity of this is to learn how to deal with the crisis, and this is by doing these sessions where there would be experts like we are here today with one of the best peoples to tell us how to do this. And we need to learn how to keep cool, how to physically, mentally, and legally protect ourselves. Now, I must confess, I get quite a few calls from our colleagues who are disturbed when some such thing happens, and they don't know how to react, they don't know what to do, and they have sleepless nights. And we want them to learn how to deal with the situation, so that they can give the best possible explanations to the patients, as well as keep their cool also, as well as legally protect themselves too. So the second activity is Phone a Friend, where we are making an emergency helpline, and this would be a helpline for any immediate crisis where they could connect with somebody who could tell them as to what they should do immediately when there is a crisis. And the third activity is dealing with the police and media, because this is one fear which a lot of our patients only have put in our minds, because they sometimes threaten that they would go to the police station, or they would highlight everything in the media. And many a times when this is done, it's with a lot of hype, and it is and sadly many a times it is with a lot of blame on the doctors. And this is what everybody fears, because they have done their best, and yet they fear police as well as media. And especially because police is also, we find that in quite a few places they are not aware of what the rights of the doctors are. Hence there are a lot of unanswered questions like, can a patient go to a police station? We do find patients who go to the police station if they are dissatisfied. Can a FIR be filed? Can a doctor be arrested based on FIR? We have seen several cases where they have been arrested based on FIR. And what are the legal rights of the doctors? So in this dealing with police and media, we want everybody to realize that the whatever is unknown is always more is something which generates more fear. And this is all a part of our profession. So we have to be friends with police as well as media and not fear them. And because we are sitting in very vulnerable position as doctors, we are into public dealing, our gates are open, we cannot stop anybody from coming inside, we cannot even stop imposters from entering into our clinics and hospitals, we cannot have bouncers because that doesn't go well with our profession. To protect ourselves, we are dealing with money, and we are dealing with money openly. So we are in a very vulnerable position where we can be attacked at any time, and we have to learn how to protect ourselves and yet not yet keep our patients satisfied. And so this is one area where we are working on, where we are encouraging that in every city, in the police departments, we made a common format letter where we encourage our members to visit the police station, where meet any police officer, be it small or be it the highest position like a commissioner, so that you can have a dialogue with them. They can educate their personnel as to what the rights of the doctors are, so that everything happens as per law. We are also encouraging you to become friendlier with media, so that media knows what you are doing and some wrong news does not go, which can affect your career as well as your mental status. Then we are also going to work on advocacy in this, because till now because we feel that health has to be a central matter, but we found that in every state there are different rules, which creates a lot of confusion. And so there has to be a common law for all states, which should be a common law which is same as center. So once all this happens, we want all our members to march ahead with a lot of confidence and fearlessness in their professional pursuit, giving the best to their patients. Because once we are fearful, we will not be able to give our best. We would always be on the cautious side. So we want this fear to be removed, and we want to give the best to our patients. So the Project Archana, in other words, is all about creating more happy patients and happy doctors. Thank you. Yes, Dr.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mohita. It's such a reassuring and safe space you're creating within the Women Ophthalmic Society. And it would surprise you to know I would soon be in a position to give some personal anecdotes to you, because I was away on leave and I had a clinic robbery. As Dr. Mohita says, our gates are always open. So someone took the opportunity to slip into my room and steal a computer with so much patient data. And in fact, it was my friends in the IMA Dwarka who, when I was not there, they were kind enough to coordinate with my staff and call the police. So it affects all of us. We can't say it happens to the next person. So it's something very valuable you're creating, Mohita, and all of us, will join you in this effort. I now invite Dr. Anupma. She is a renowned laparoscopic surgeon, in the Northwest Delhi. She's attached to a lot of well-known corporate hospitals like Max, Fortis. And she also, being an expert in laparoscopy as well as advanced in vitro fertilization procedures, she's also invited by a lot of doctors to their clinics. So like you have a family physician, she's a physician to many doctors. And so she is very ideally placed to understand what is happening in the area. And what she has done is that she has set up a lovely model where someone in distress is facing any sort of gynae emergency, with their patients, or anybody else is applicable to all specialities, how to go about seeking help, so that you have a lot of people to help you with all the sudden tasks that you're faced with. Dr. Anupma, over to you. We'd love to hear what you have to say.
Before that, could I make a request?
Sure, sir.
My request to Dr. Mohita is that when I'm speaking, please be there. So I'll tell you whether police is needed or not. So kindly, when I'm speaking, I will cover this point. All the points I will cover. Please.
Yes, I'm sure Dr. Mohita will be there.
Yeah, I'm there. I'm there.
Nice of you. Thank you.
I'm there.
Okay.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Dr. Mohita has already very nicely introduced what this is all about. So I'll basically be talking about how to physically protect, wherein how to establish a model, a safety model, and how to go about making a self-help group. Can you, I don't know what happened. I'll just. Is my screen visible?
Yes, we can see your default section is coming up. That lower panel of your computer is coming. Your PPT is open and the default section is coming on the left.
Right, but why is it not coming on full screen? Just give me one minute. All right, can you see my screen right now?
Yes.
All right, we are there. So again, I'll take this opportunity to talk about how to establish a safety model. As Dr. Mohita said, medical violence has escalated to enormous amounts in recent time, to the extent that we academicians have to look beyond academics and think of ways to safeguard ourselves first before we think of ways to safeguard our patients. So we in Northwest Delhi, I'm basically, as Dr. Anjali has already introduced me, I'm a freelancing laparoscopic surgeon. So I'm attached to 50 odd nursing homes in Northwest Delhi and 8 to 10 elite tertiary corporate hospitals in the same area. So we actually developed a safety model back in 2020 when COVID was lurking around the corner, wherein we established a self-help group or rapid action force. We all know what exactly medical violence means. It can range from a telephonic threat to verbal abuse to sexual assault and a physical assault. So the question which I'm asked so many times is, why do we need a self-help group? And why do we need it now that we are practicing since ages now? So what has changed in current times? I'll be taking you through my journey of self-help groups. Indian Medical Association suggests that up to 75% of doctors have faced some kind of violence at work. बहुत सारे लोग कहते हैं हम बहुत अच्छे हैं, we are well versed, we are very polite, we are top notch academicians, we are top notch, we have served our patients in 20 years, we are not at risk. No, my dear friends, everybody is at risk. Doctors at standalone clinics, daycare centers, smaller nursing homes, and even the tertiary hospitals and corporates, everybody is at risk of this. So the question is how to go about forming a self-help group. The first step would be, I guess, the endeavor has to be started by somebody who's connected to a lot of people, a lot of doctors. It can be a freelancing surgeon, a freelancing anesthetist, or a pediatrician, a local medical body leader, doctors who are attached to multiple setups, and of course, dynamic young doctors with leadership skills. Now, these are the main people who can enforce ideas of senior people into actual work. So what we did was, back in 2020, first of all, we made a first WhatsApp group. Now, this WhatsApp group will comprise of like-minded doctors in your area. When I say like-minded, it means the basic concept is, आज दूसरे की मदद के लिए जाइए, कल वो आपकी मदद के लिए आएंगे. Don't wait for somebody else to start it. You know, when we started this group, within 2 days, that time the upper limit of eligibility was 256 in a WhatsApp group. Within 2 days, our group was filled. But then we realized we had doctors from Adarsh Nagar to Sector 24 Rohini, which was a wide area. And the golden 15 minutes reaching period was not possible. So we further subdivided this into zones of radius of around 2 kilometers. So everyone can reach within 15 minutes. Now, these 15 minutes is the golden period when your colleague actually needs you. So whenever an alarm is raised, a chain reaction begins, wherein one person calls 5 more, and 5 more, and the entire group is activated. And within minutes, 35, 40, or 50 doctors, along with their staff, they'll reach the ground zero. In the meantime, the main help group is functional, and they'll ensure that more doctors reach by and by if aggression really aggravates. Whenever a call is made, whenever you receive a distress call, you just have to remember, this is a number game. You have to outnumber the miscreants. Patient के mob से ज़्यादा doctors होने चाहिए, and that will just specify everybody. So whenever you receive a call, look around you, take your staff, your lab technician, your assistant, your OT technician, your receptionist, and even your non-medical friends with you. So that ultimately when you reach that place, you are like 40, 50, 60 people who are supporting your colleague. More the merrier. It has been found that physical presence of doctors in a number comparable to or more than miscreants is a major deterrent to aggression. Few basic points. Just remember the code of conduct. सबसे पहले attitude घर छोड़ के जाइए. मदद करने जा रहे हैं, attitude नहीं. Second, we are not assembling to fight. Violence has to be avoided at all costs. We are doctors. We are not bouncers. हम लड़ने नहीं जा रहे. Our purpose is very simple. We want to form a human barrier between our colleague and the mob, so nothing happens. whatever grievance the mob has, they are more than welcome to take it to the court of law, but no physical assault. When you go to a place, please be non-judgmental and refrain from loose talks. बहुत common चीज है वहां जाकर ये बोलना, I'm a gynecologist, CTG करना चाहिए था, cesarean पहले करना चाहिए था, patient को नहीं रखना चाहिए था, refer कर देना चाहिए था. See, you have a qualified colleague there, and he would have done his best in given circumstances. Such loose talks when heard by patient party really aggravate the situation more. So don't be judgmental about anybody. In the meantime, since your colleague is really hassled, एक बंदे के सामने 50 लोग खड़े हो जाते हैं, दिमाग काम करना बंद कर देता है. But file work complete करना is important because there is a legal part to it. So the colleagues, doctors in the same specialty, they can actually help with documentation in completing the file because your colleague is not in a position to think straight. Whenever you feel that the situation is going out of hand, please call police and the number is 112. Do not be afraid. अगर कॉल पुलिस के पास जानी है तो पेशेंट से पहले आपकी कॉल जानी चाहिए, so that you always have the first mover advantage to it. When so many people assemble at a place, few of the colleagues are likely to know the local SHO, the beat officer, the inspectors, and the counselors. These are the people who can help. Now that our self-help group has been functional for over 2 years now, we are getting in touch with local MLAs, local police officers. We felicitate them. Diwali per gift. It is just developing friendly relations so that कल अगर जरूरत पड़ती है, they really are on friendly terms with you and eager to help you out. Help in whatever way is welcome. Please understand, it is a matter of survival now. So you have to leave your petty differences aside. If you don't come today, nobody will come tomorrow because nobody is immune. It is a very simple logic. When you know that so many colleagues have your back, you really feel confident and empowered. Till date, around 25 to 30 odd episodes have happened in Northwest Delhi, and all the episodes have been tackled very well, and not even a single litigation so far. I'll just take you through my WhatsApp. I'll just share my screenshots to help you understand how we formed this group. So this particular screenshot is of Zone 4 Doctors Help Group. There's a central help group, and this has been divided into 4 zones. So Zone 4 Doctors Help Group will look something like this. It has 103 doctors in it. Names, numbers, and specialties are saved. Now this list is kept with everybody. All the members have them, and the receptionist at my clinic, my lab assistant, my OT technician, my nurse. They all have this list. So in case I'm not ready, I'm not in a position to raise an alarm, these are the people who raise an alarm. This is what my main WhatsApp screen looks like. All the help groups are pinned to the top. If you see, all the groups are pinned to the top and they have a different notification call. So whenever a message flashes, a different ringtone beeps, and you can just look that somebody somewhere is in trouble. Of course, telephonic calls go hand in hand with this.
Dr. Gupta, could you summarize, please?
Sure, ma'am. I'll just take 2 more minutes.
Yeah.
This is a recent example. This happened on 27th September. If you see, this is how an alarm is raised. 9:54 p.m. Some problem at Shanti Kumud Hospital, Adarsh Nagar. Please try to reach it early as possible to help Dr. Praveen. 11:22 p.m. Dr. Praveen Atre messages. Thanks to all helping hands, things are already managed. So this is how we work. And the very next day, this particular message by one of the members of Zone 4 group was posted the very next day, and this pretty much summarizes what I'm trying to say. Dear friends, within a short span of time, about 40 doctors were there on the spot to combat the challenging situation. I just overheard few attendants discussing that all doctors of the area have gathered here. Such sort of initiative by us has somehow started giving positive signals to public in the society. This is what I'm talking about. 3 episodes, एक area में public will get a fair idea कि doctors are not alone, they gather. उसके बाद कोई ऐसा episode करेगा ही नहीं. These are few more examples. I'll just skip these standalone clinics and daycare. These are few examples of the cases that we have managed. And this is a recent development in our, we have, after the DOSA event, we have developed a task force wherein we have intensivists, vascular surgeons, anesthetists, surgeons, everybody at your beck and call to help you out in difficult situations. Initial teething problems, people are very eager to post jokes on this group, and you have to be very polite and very firm with that. Humble request, please refrain from posting jokes, because the basic purpose is defeated. The entire group is flooded with these messages and the main messages get missed. Of course, there are some nice ones who want to wish me happy birthday to Dr. Anupma. All the best for keeping everyone united. Really thankful for such messages, but rules are same for everybody. No wishes on this forum. This is not a birthday message forum. Simple, I'll just summarize to say, there is no replacement for good communication skills and documentation. Professional indemnity is a must, लेकिन इन सब का रोल तब आएगा जब आप उस वक्त बच जाएंगे, उस वक्त जान बचेगी तो लीगल शेयर करेंगे. So it is imperative to have a good network of first responders to diffuse the situations. I'll just end by saying, I'll just say a few lines about how Holocaust occurred, and that just pretty much summarizes everything. First, they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. And then they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. And then they came for the trade unionist, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. So please speak for people around you, and somebody would speak for you. Thank you so much. This was Dr. Anupma Gupta. And my partners in crime have been Dr. Tarang Yadav and Dr. Riddhi Kathuria, who are not here, but they've really helped me a lot with the self-help group. Thank you so much, Dr. Anjali and Dr. Gupta.
Thank you, Dr. Anupma, for such a lovely practical talk. You've given us a beautiful model we can work on. First of all, you've shown us that how, we can have a multiplier effect with geometric, progression of people who come to help you. It's a beautiful model, which we'd certainly take some nice inputs from. On one of your screens, I saw this lovely to-do list, which you had shown the ticks ki ye ho gaya, written to SHO, post-mortem done or whatever. If you can share that checklist with us, it will help the women ophthalmologists also incorporate it into our own model. And I love that humorous touch about, people wanting to put in jokes in a serious group. That's a very, normal and natural tendency. It lightens the mood. So thank you so much again for giving us this model. And now we come to our next speaker, Dr. Vimal. She's an extremely experienced psychologist. She deals with a whole range of, hello? Can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Sorry, I think I went off for a minute. We'd like to invite Dr. Vimal to speak to us. She's a very experienced psychologist with over 22 years experience. She's dealt with a whole range of mental issues, from depression to grieving when there's a sudden loss of someone you love to, it's such an endless list. So she's basically very experienced in different situations. And what is fascinating is that she's also done 6 years of physical pain management. So she understands, what you call psychosomatic diseases also very beautifully. And as you know, it's a mind-body connection when you're in a crisis. Your body feels paralyzed, your mind feels paralyzed. And in 2014, she started her own center, a safe space, something like Dr. Mohita is trying to create in Women Ophthalmic Society. Dr. Vimal has created a safe space which goes by the name of Ibtida in 2014. Maybe she can tell us more about it. And Dr. Vimal, over to you. Looking forward to hearing from you.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be on this forum. And I thank each one of you to have been, put in the effort to put this together. Because we have limited time, I'm going to speak about what I would like to convey in point form, so that if there are any questions, then we can address it at the end of today's session. So to begin with, to lay a foundation to what I'm saying, we experience life happening on 2 dimensions, which is the external, comprising of situations, experiences, and our reactions and responses to the situations and the experiences. Pretty much life throws to us many things that we don't expect. And the other dimension is the internal, which is what we archive as our interpretation of the experiences and situations we face. And we archive it in this very inner private part of us, which is called our self, which forms the core self, which is the place where our belief systems are formed, from which our thinking comes. Thoughts create feelings, and feelings create behavior. So, and as doctors, doctors are exposed to high levels of stress because of the nature of the work, needing to be alert, mindful, and spontaneous. There are high expectations that others have of you, like, one of the speakers had mentioned that doctors are almost treated to be close to gods or near God, because there is a lot of expectation with a lot of faith pinned on doctors as professionals and as human beings as well. Along with the expectations that others have of us, there is also our own expectations of ourselves, which also adds to the pressure of our performance and our delivery. We are also raised in a culture where we are programmed to live up to other people's expectations. We are also trained to be always at our optimum level of functioning. स्कूल में सबसे अच्छे मार्क्स आने चाहिए, कॉलेज में सबसे अच्छी पढ़ाई होनी चाहिए, एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर्स भी होने चाहिए, खुद की देखभाल भी करनी चाहिए. So, which is, and I'm not saying this in a negative way, I think it also, it does, it really adds and uses, it encourages us to come up to our, harness our potential to its utmost. But it also adds pressure because every human being also has their threshold and they have their saturation points. And when it's consistent, then it's very easy to break down. And we may not even know that the breakdown is coming. So, and being responsible in the profession of the medical interventions is a mandate. And it is also necessary, but it also has its limitations. And I think that sometimes we forget the limitations that responsibility has. Because as human beings, we are limited beings, and we need to accept that. There are times when people place a doctor on a pedestal of almost worship and pin trust a lot of hope. But there are other times when doctors are also met by doubt and skepticism and the threat of being blamed and accused of malpractice, like, Dr. Anupma Gupta just has given a detailed description of that. And I think as a professional, you need to have the resources and the tools to deal with both. Now, obviously, it's way easier to deal with the validation, and it's harder to deal with something that is thrown upon us as an accusation or a blame. But I'm not going to go into the detail of what happens, but I would like to, the point I'm trying to stress here is that the prolonged periods of working under external and self-inflicted pressure risks the high, it puts us on high risk of mental disorders, substance abuse, suicide, and impairment in functioning. Sometime, and before it really starts to show up as symptoms or as very visible signs of differently behaving human beings, it's been building up inside of us subconsciously, quietly, in isolation. So the point being, pay attention to yourself as much as you pay attention to the patients who come to you. Because if you are okay, you are at your best. If you're not so okay, then you're not at your best. That's the only one thing I'd like to stress upon to watch out, because I think that because of our programming of being responsible towards the other person, sometimes we lose, a lot of times, in fact, we lose attention upon ourselves. And by the virtue of work, doctors are exposed to a plethora of emotions, including the need to rescue a patient, a sense of failure and frustration when the patient's illness progresses, feelings of powerlessness, against the illness and also against its associated losses. There is grief. There is fear of becoming ill oneself or dying, facing uncertainty in clinical practice, dealing with sexuality, or a desire to separate from and avoid patients to escape these feelings. Sometimes we have transference feelings when we are working very close and very long with patients. There's enough research to back this up. These emotions, they're powerful in nature and capable of causing stress, arise from the doctor-patient relationship. Again, to stress upon, if your relationship with yourself is paid attention to, I'm not saying none of these things will happen, but I am saying that it reduces the probability of a lot of things that may take you into the direction you don't want to go into from happening. Repeated exposure to these kind of feelings and experience of distress can contribute to high levels of, let's say, burnout. Burnout meaning that it's experienced as chronic fatigue and the loss of enthusiasm and motivation to perform. It could also culminate into depersonalization, which is descriptive of negative or a cynical attitude and impersonal feeling towards the patients. And you may surprise yourself. Sometimes we surprise ourselves because we are not really feeling the kind of compassion that we expect ourselves to feel. And that's how it may show up. And it could be just one day, and then you could be back to normal the next day. Which means that the stress is beginning to show up as a symptom. It could also, prolonged periods of stress I was talking about, it could also culminate into reduced personal accomplishments, which denote the feeling of incompetence, inefficiency, and inadequacy. And these things are spirals. Like, I think once you kind of come to the edge of feeling any of these three, anywhere close to feeling these three categories of feelings, it spirals down, and it's not always obvious that we're going down.
Ma'am, if you could just summarize in as early.
Yeah, it's just 2 minutes more.
Yeah, sure.
The crisis and challenges are an integral part of the professional experiences. So during a crisis and challenges, we focus all our physical and mental energy into solving whatever's in front, but it's healthy to kind of take time and then reflect upon it after the crisis is over, which I think sometimes we move from one crisis to another and we don't really pay attention to that. And to summarize, just some of the things, some of the activities I listed out, just like, people can do it consistently. It can kind of help to retain the optimum level of energy, to talk to people who validate you, but give you a real picture of you, to listen to calming music, to read and listen to empowering books, watch empowering movies, talks, listen to podcasts, so we don't lose the worldview of, because we are working so hard and we are working in a profession. Exercise is a great way to keep the energy balanced as well. And with that, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Vimal. That was very important, the things you told us. And I'll just summarize the 4 points for everybody. So Dr. Vimal told us that, patients have expectations of us. Where we can be kind to ourselves is not to hold ourselves to impossible standards. We can't control what the patient, the standards they want from us. Of course, professional standards have to be met, but we can reduce the thing by being a little kind to ourselves. Secondly, she's suggested that we build up reserves. We keep enough time for ourselves for exercise, for other things, things which keep us in a happy frame of mind and physically fit. And, I think a practical example would be that after a certain time, not taking phone calls and all, because doctors are, at everybody's beck and call all the time. And like she told us in the pandemic, sometimes you have one crisis after another. It doesn't give you enough time to build your reserve. So you have to do that. And thirdly, she said that, avoid transference, which is a phenomenon where you may get very attached to a long-standing patient. वो अपनापन तो बन ही जाता है patient से, but you have to somehow balance between being fond of a patient and being too deeply involved. Because then if something negative happens to the patient, the emotional loss is really magnified. So you have to keep a little distance, healthy distance, while still being compassionate and fond of your patient. And all those things you suggested are very useful, books, movies, and unknown to you, your very sweet little cat was peeping in when you were speaking, and she's back again now. So even pets can be a very useful tool in calming us down. So thank you so much again, Dr. Vimal, for sparing your time for us. And I'm going to invite our colleague, Dr. Anchal, to speak to us. Dr. Anchal has her own very successful practice, Netradham in South Delhi. And she also has a very nice model of charity where she helps, underprivileged people, whether they are students in schools, whether they are transgender people, whether they are marginalized women, and she's doing this across 22 states. So how she packs in all this along with the motherhood, probably she has the magic formula and can share it sometime. But right now I'm going to invite her to share with us the magic buttons we can press when there's a crisis. The so-called hospital code, which very thoughtful predecessors have already built and put in place for us. So she's going to give us a practical talk about how they work, how to switch them on, and remember to switch them off when the crisis is over. Like Dr. Anupma said, the thing is beautifully resolved in 1 hour. Then the doctor has thanked everyone and told everyone, okay, now we can stop the response building up because everything is back in place. So over to you, Dr. Anchal.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anjali. And I really love what Dr. Anupma is doing. The way they have formed a format, it was really overwhelming. And, to be able to take it forward without disruption is amazing. So we are already running very late. So I'll go to my presentation. I'm Dr. Pc Gupta. I'm in an independent practice, established my organization, which is a blend model of practice of both charitable and private. So of course, being a woman who has started her practice all by scratch, there are several challenges which I faced. And indeed, I must say that emergency situations are not as rare as we might candidly think. So we should all be prepared for emergency situation happening in our practice. And thankfully, there are set codes for the same. So my presentation is very technical. It is completely on the basis of the codes defined by NABH that are to be practiced in terms of an emergency. And even smaller centers like us, which are not NABH empaneled or people who are into individual practices, can have their own set emergency codes. So what is an emergency code? An emergency code is a code which a hospital uses, and they are formed worldwide to alert the staff to various emergencies. So there's a set defined format practiced internationally, which is designed in a way to address to emergencies faced anytime in a hospital setup. So the purpose of an emergency code is that it is supposed to convey essential information quickly. In the shortest format, we can quickly page information. It should be easily understood by staff. It should not be complex. And it should be in such a way that the patients who are waiting in the hospital should not feel a panic or stress. And it's a code which is available only to the staff. The code should be designed in such a way that all the employees, they have it on their placards or on their ID cards or on the walls so that they are easily readable and understood. What actually led to the formation of uniform emergency code across? So there was in 1999 in South California, there was a shooting where 3 employees were dead. So when the shooting was happening, the staff just paged code gray, which was actually about assault, but it did not convey that the assault had arm and ammunition. Therefore, the staff which ran was not prepared that the people who were imposters had guns with them, and hence 3 employees were dead. This led them into thinking that we should be having a code system which is very precise and it conveys the messages properly about what the emergency is. And that's when the emergency code came in a standard format to be used internationally. The emergency code is a notification that requires immediate action. So it should be something which is not something which is going to happen in the evening, but immediate action. It is for completely unexpected emergencies, which indeed can strike anywhere at any time in our practice. For smaller centers, we should always be having our own emergency preparedness plans. What are the characteristics of an emergency code? Let's say we are not following the standard format of NABH and we want to devise our own emergency codes. We should always choose a code in a plain language. The code should always has 3 very important characteristics. A, it should highlight the type of emergency. B, the code itself. And C, the location where the emergency is happening in the hospital. So for example, security alert, missing person, 3rd floor. So the type of emergency is a security alert. The code is a missing person and the location is the 3rd floor. Or a facility alert, fire alarm on the 1st floor area. So basically these are the 3 important components which any of us should be thinking to incorporate when we are designing our own personal codes, unless we are following the NABH codes, which are also very handy and standard. The information that we have to spread should be very self-explanatory. All the staff should be well aware of it. And it should be so explanatory that even if there's a new untrained staff, can easily understand and quickly intervene. The code set by NABH are code red, blue, pink, yellow, violet, orange, and black. The code red is a code for, there are some additional codes as well, which are brown, gray, and green, not as commonly used. So code red is the code which is for fire, flame, smoke, or an unusual heat. Code blue is a code for heart attack. Any patient or any team member having or a heart attack or a suspicious heart attack, so that the resuscitation team can be called for. Code pink is a standard code if there is a suspicion that a child or an infant is being abducted. Yellow is in case for natural disasters like an earthquake or a flood or an electric lightning. Code violet, which has gained immense relevance in today's time with the tolerance among the patients really going down, is for assault by the patients or imposters, which could be of any form, which can be people with weapons, shooters, or a hostage kind of a situation. Code orange if there is a spill of a hazardous material like mercury, formaldehyde, and any acid or something. Code black is the code if for bomb or any suspicious devices. So how do we announce an emergency code is really important. As I listed earlier also, it should be always in a standard pattern of what is the alert category, what is the specific code, and what is the location. For example, a security code, violet, room number 553. So this itself suggests that the security team has to come into action and there is some assault happening in room number 553. So security alert is the category of the alert, the code is violet, and the location is 553. The protocol of announcing the code is that it should be announced 3 times over the PA system, and then it should be repeated every 30 seconds for the next 2 minutes. Once we have drafted a code format for an organization, we should ensure that mock drills are happening every 6 months so that the team is well prepared to address to such kind of emergency situations, even if an emergency is not happening during the duration. Once the code has been announced and the situation has been taken care of, we should always terminate a code. So how we terminate a code? Security alert, code violet, number 553, clear. So here the stress would be on the word clear, so that the entire hospital is now aware that that code alert has been taken care of. So the key takeaways are: never underestimate the probability of an emergency. It can happen with any of us, any of the time. If it's not a big NABH accredited setup, custom design your own codes, which can be on the basis of format I explained. The code should be prominently placed for everyone to see from time to time. It should be well placed on the walls and in the OPD and the waiting lobbies, so the staff are reminded of the codes while they are just doing their basic chores. Keep doing recurring mock drills. have a disaster control triage ready. Like Dr. Anupma rightly said, that we should have the phone numbers in our directory ready. We should have contacts with the local police, the fire ambulance with BSES guys, so that we have a triage ready. So if something or the other happens, we have the essential contacts in place. Every new staff should be made aware of the codes. It often happens that emergencies don't happen very frequently, and we might have new joinings who are not made aware of the codes. So if there should be an SOP that every new staff is made aware of the code and is trained at joining, and we have to modify the codes and the SOP as per the real-time experience. Here was my quick update into how we can have a standardized emergency code for our hospital. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Anchal, for a very efficiently and very practical suggestions in your talk. So everybody is on the same page. We have Dr. Anupma telling us about the model for reaching out to other people. Dr. Anchal telling us about the models which are in place in your own little establishment or big establishment. Dr. Bimal telling us how to marshal your own resources. So it's, proceeding in a way. And having come this far in the talk, now the next part of the evening is devoted to Dr. Deepmala, who's going to tell us, how to actually the things she's done, practical ways that she's helped people. And of course, our medical legal expert, Dr. Pc Gupta, is going to give us a lot of legal tips to look after ourselves. I hand over to my dear colleague, Dr. Ranjana, head of Bihar WOS, and a very renowned ophthalmologist of Bihar, to take on the proceedings further from here. Dr. Ranjana.
Thank you, Dr. Anjali. So that was a very illuminative session and in the first half, and we had excellent talks on all the different topics. So now we have Dr. Deepmala. Dr. Deepmala has been associated with Dada Dev Maternity and Child Hospital, and she has been deputy medical superintendent there till 2022, and currently she is a project officer. She's really made a name for herself during COVID times for her exemplary work, mainly the administrative division regarding implementation of the various protocols. And she has received many appreciation awards. And one of them was from Times India TV network for her work during COVID times. She has played a crucial role in telemedicine that has been started for her pregnant females. Facility has been started, and that was launched, and also a COVID helpline that was launched during COVID times. She has been felicitated by Delhi Medical Association as a Corona warrior, which is highly commendable for her dedicated work. And she headed IMA Dwarika in 2018, and IMA Dwarika was just the best branch during her tenure. So congratulations to Dr. Deepmala, and we would like to, and she's done a lot of work with various NGOs and social organizations. So we would like to hear her on live example of intervention, and no better person than her to give a talk on that. So I hand over the podium to Dr. Deepmala. Could you please share your screen at the top?
Thank you, Dr. Ranjana. Hope I am audible.
Yeah.
First of all, very good evening to all of you. I want to thank Dr. Anjali and Dr. Ranjana for giving me this chance. And I must say, personally, very relevant topics are being touched. I have been told to just share some episodes which have happened with our colleagues, because most of the time we have seen the doctors are very soft target. So I just want to share one of the episode. Actually, this happened with doctor's colleague, husband and wife. Both of them were practicing in a society, and they both are very renowned doctors. One fine day, we got a call around 8 or 8:30 p.m. that the society people have blocked their, they have locked them inside the society house, and they were not allowing them to leave their house. Like they were staying somewhere else. Their clinic was in that society, but they were not allowing them to leave that place. Now, this was a very ajibsa situation, because all the residents, they were learned people, educated people. So we all went there. When we received a call, we just saw that due to some miscommunication, the society people are very annoyed, very upset. and they have just locked them inside. They have kept them hostage. So now it was time for our crisis handling team to reach there. And in our crisis handling team, we have president, secretary, and past presidents, and many others. I'm talking about the Indian Medical Association Dwarka. We have made a crisis handling team here. So we all reached there immediately. And first of all, what we did, we called at 100, and the police jeep also reached at the same time. And they took out them from the house, and this couple sat in the jeep. We were relieved. We thought the crisis has been handled. Now they can be taken out of the society. So we were relaxed. But suddenly we saw when the police vehicle started moving out that these society people, they blocked that police jeep also. They were not allowing the police jeep also to leave that society. And we were all, even they were looking us with the very bad stares, very बहुत ही गुस्से में देख रहे थे हम लोग, because they identified us. They realized कि we are outsiders and we are here to help them. So उन्होंने हमें सबसे पहले बाहर कर दिया. We all came out of the society, and when we saw that police jeep is not allowed, and that was around, you won't imagine, there were around 100 and 150 people. Puri almost society was there. And surprisingly, all educated people. Then when we felt that this is a really a little difficult situation, then fortunately we were knowing the ACP Dwarka. We immediately called him up. He was somewhere else, but he realized the situation is grim. So he himself came with the 3 vehicles, police vehicles. Jab these 3 police vehicles arrived there, then the society people realized this is difficult for them to manage. Then ultimately the doors were open, society doors were open, and this couple was allowed to come out. Then we all went to the police station and FIR was lodged. And suddenly we saw this is around 12 a.m. at night. We all were there in police station. And then the society people realized they are united. We were around 15 to 20 doctors. जब उनको लगा कि नहीं, they are all together. Then they all came again to the police station, and they literally asked forgiveness. Or in written, we took their apology because they said that FIR should not be lodged. And our couple, doctors are very soft, and they said, okay, it's fine. Finally, FIR was not lodged, but a written apology was taken from them. And you won't believe that this couple always felt that they were not safe there. Ultimately, they have shifted. They are now in some other society. So just this type of situation, when you won't believe that this couple was always helping these society people. They were giving them free advices also. But since suddenly something happened and they were so upset that they were all against them. So in this type of crisis, we as a core committee, and this has happened many times also. If you have time, I can share one more episode if you have time. Can I?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, this has happened with one more colleague. He was running a clinic in the Palam, and around this, I think this was like when the patient was admitted there, his friends and they all came out to meet him, and then suddenly they were hooligans, and they said we will not going to pay him anything. And I think this is happening very often. When the patient is fine, then he realized कि अब मुझे देने का मतलब नहीं है पैसे का, तो they started arguing that, but the doctor was adamant कि नहीं, जो if I have treated you, you have to pay for me. तो उन्होंने क्या किया? They started throwing stones and all that. Almost his clinic में they damaged the clinic. Then he realized he is also our member. Then he realized कि नहीं, अब तो मुझे इन्हें call करना चाहिए. He called us, and we approached the SHO of that area. And SHO told us कि ठीक है, I will lodge the FIR. But again, the second day, the doctor called us and said कि वही same people are coming in my clinic, and they are in very aggressive mode. I don't think police is doing anything. So we felt कि नहीं, SHO is not helping them. Then fortunately, we have a very good relation with the police, and I advise everyone कि अपनी police से तो we should always have a very good relation. So we immediately called the DCP Dwarka, and DCP Dwarka was a very nice person. He immediately called the SHO, and the FIR was lodged. And after 2-3 days, I think he allowed 2 constables also. These constables were standing outside his clinic for 2-3 days because the doctor was very shaken up and he was saying कि मैं तो नहीं जा रहा clinic पे. So for 3 days at least, he allowed 2 constables to stand outside the clinic so that he developed some this thing, and he started his clinic, and now everything is fine. So this way, I have seen कि whenever the doctors are in crisis, so our team always reaches there, and we give a moral support, and we are fortunate that we are having a very good relations with the police. So I just want to tell you that teamwork is the basic need for an organization, and all people should rely, doctors especially, that they should be part of some organization, because ultimately the organization is the thing which comes for your help, and unity is strength. When there is a teamwork and collaboration, wonderful things can be achieved. I just want to conclude with these lines. हम केवल उतने ही मजबूत हैं जब तक हम एकजुट हैं. हम केवल उतने ही मजबूत हैं जब तक हम एकजुट हैं, उतने ही कमजोर हैं जब तक हम विभाजित हैं. So I just want to appeal everyone कि if anything happens to you, please, first of all, डरिए मत. Please call your friend. If you are not member of any organization, maybe your friend is the member of that organization, who will receive the call. We will be there. और जब सामने वाला देखता है कि they are in strength, definitely it affects. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Deepmala, for this real life scenarios. And we need to
many so many episodes, but I know time is short.
Absolutely. Till you have faced that situation, you cannot imagine the mental state and the circumstances that force you to do a lot of things which you have never anticipated. And it's very important to understand, and our medical curriculum has not trained us for these things. So yes. Now the situation is such that we need to self-train ourselves, and we need to have groups who would organize workshops and webinars like these, so that people would be updated and would be empowered to understand how to deal with such situations. Thank you so much. And I think this will give us, and this has given us a lot of food for thought and to analyze how we need to tackle all this. Now we have our next speaker. Thank you, Dr. Deepmala. Our next speaker is Dr. Pc Gupta, and who's the medical legal expert, and he will be enlightening us with the rights of doctors regarding regarding such scenarios. I would just like to give a brief introduction of Dr. Pc Gupta. He belongs to the Indian Administrative Service 1975 batch with key assignments in the Government of India and state government in various departments. And he's also armed with a PhD in organic chemistry and has a degree in law and public administration, and has served as a chairman in UN Council. Currently, he has served for more than 5 years as a member of the National Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission, New Delhi, which is an apex quasi-judicial body to adjudicate cases under the Consumer Protection Act 1986. He has handled a lot of cases of consumer acts, and presently he's serving on the Lok Adalat bench of Punjab and Haryana High Court at Chandigarh. So we will now have Dr. Pc Gupta give his talk on medical legal rights of advice for doctors in a crisis situation. Dr. Pc Gupta, sir, please.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me, and can you see my PPT also?
We can see you, sir. Your PPT will only, it's not there. Please share screen.
I said share screen. I clicked on the share screen. Can you see the PPT?
No, sir.
Just 1 minute.
So you minimize the Zoom window.
They can't see it.
You can't see it.
If any of the audience has questions, Please type them in the box till then.
Can you see this now, madam?
Yeah, we can see. You can just make it slide share.
Okay, slide share. 1 minute.
Full screen.
Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now with this button.
Okay. Okay, I had to take the help of my wife, who's from your clan only, a dermatologist and all that. So at the very outset, I would like to say that the title I have borrowed from the flyer, Managing Calmly and Effectively, Crisis and all that. But after hearing the speakers before me, so in my mind, I have handled the things on the judicial side. I have handled the things on executive side. I was Home Secretary for Punjab and dealing with violence all cases. So I just want to say that these are two very different things. The situation where some violence is occurring and the medico-legal. And frankly, having worked in the Consumer Commission at the apex level, my intention was to speak on medico-legal, but I will definitely touch upon the criminal negligence part and also the violence part. So kindly bear with me for a while. So I start with this thing that why medico-legal litigation can it be minimized, avoided, and what is the system? So I will say what is the system in dealing with medico-legal situation, system in dealing with violence, and what happens within the system. And just take it at the cost of modesty, I'm saying coming from horse's mouth, because I have handled thousands of cases as presiding over the bench dealing with medico-legal litigation in the consumer court, and what the jury has in mind in while dealing with these cases. So the speakers before me, they have mentioned why there is a medico-legal litigation. Effective communication is lacking, unrealistic expectations by patients, relatives, lack of empathy by healthcare providers, history counseling, ambulance chasers. I think that word amuses me most. What is an ambulance chaser? That means there's some person with vested interest, maybe some antisocial element, maybe a person who is encouraging the patient to go for litigation, go to the police for filing an FIR, like that. So all sorts of people are there. So my point is that in the practice, maybe very rarely, but any one of you can land in a situation. But my final line will be that the law is there. Law, when I say law, law means Supreme Court. The law is very well laid out. There is no need for any scare. I don't call it a crisis at all. And the things are well protected. The only thing is to have knowledge about that. So can it be avoided, minimized? First point, Dr. Vimal has touched upon doctor-patient relationship. In one of the conferences when I mentioned this thing, the remark came, do you want to have us, do you want us to have a love affair with our patient? I said, no, a situation should not develop like that. The patient may not be aggrieved with your staff, with anybody in your clinic and all that. So if you take care of the DPR, so our thumb rule is that the medico-legal litigation shall be minimized, may be reduced to half. All my colleagues believe it. It may be reduced to half if the DPR is taken care of. And the other is documentation is very important, and the communication of documentation. That means the patient, his relatives, to the extent possible, the communication has also to be there. Then open, truthful, caring approach, that's there. Now I come to the system. What is the system where we are working? There are civil courts, criminal courts, consumer commissions, High Court, Supreme Court, State Medical Council. So when Dr. Mohita started, so the impression that I have got is that you say that police, I have deliberately omitted police from this. I will tell you why. Don't I think them important? Police is important only when some unsavory situation, as Dr. Deepshika was saying, some develops at that time only police is relevant. Rest from there only, their job is very, very limited. The main thing is the legal system, the system of courts, the system of investigation, all the civil courts, criminal courts. What is the difference between civil negligence, criminal negligence? The things are in a very bigger mode. Police is simply just one part of it, not a very important part. And excuse me for saying so. Don't be overburdened with this idea that you have to cultivate the police or seek their help time to time. They are just one part. I will explain how. So this is the system. And the consumer courts, you must be knowing at the district level, there is a district court, the district judges, they had state commission, high court. Then there is a national commission. So I was a part of the national commission for 5.5 years. And beyond me is the Supreme Court is there. So during my stay there, so many cases, so many situations, government hospitals, private hospitals, including the All India Institute, including the PGI Chandigarh, so many situations came, so many things. I can speak at length for any number of minutes. Then how does litigation start? So I come back to my first slide. So there may be a situation, person is dissatisfied. You have done your duty properly. Nothing is lacking on your part. But still, there can be somebody who is not satisfied. So he goes to an advocate. Advocate has also to earn his living. He will say, okay, we'll file a case. So a case comes. So there is a preliminary hearing. In every case, it is obligatory that nothing can be done against you unless you are given a chance of hearing, of giving all the documents and all that. And faithfully, the entire set of papers given by the patient is sent to the other party, that is the doctor, and they are given an opportunity for hearing. But the point is the litigation is there. Then what is to be done? Now I come within the system. Important issues are informed consent, you must have heard, medical records, SOPs, and what jury has in mind. Now coming to informed consent, I won't take much time, but I wish more time would be there. Informed consent, what it is, what does it mean? I only want to say, during my stay there, thousands of cases, and in every case, this question of informed consent crops up. So when I sitting in the court, when I ask this question, informed consent is there or not there? So with full authority, I'm telling you, in 50% of the cases, the answer was no informed consent is there on record. Why? No answer. And in other cases, when it was there on a piece of paper, the signatures of the patient or his relatives are scribbled. Just, I have not seen even a single case where the signatures of the doctor were there. I don't know why. It is not for me to tell you. It is not any updesh or any treatise that I am giving. Within your own community, within the fraternity, well laid out procedures are there. I got hold of a document. Kindly go through it, which is my humble request. Royal College of Surgeons in 2016. They came out with a document, 44-page document. Everything is given. What is informed consent? How is it taken? Who is to sign? And all that, it is there. So far as we are concerned, I don't mind. It can be in Hindi, Punjabi, Urdu, any language it is there. But the intention should be clear. The signatures of the patient, signatures of the doctor, and one witness, as the Royal College tells us, if they are there, then informed consent is done. But this case, well, Dr. Anjali told me something for ophthalmology. Kindly go through what it is there. So there is Dr. Rogers. There is Miss Whitaker. So I am not a medical doctor. There was some situation called sympathetic ophthalmia. So after the surgery, she loses sight in the other eye and she becomes blind. No negligence. Doctor has done his job well. As per procedure, nothing, no legal infirmity. But the point, The point is that there is a court at the district level, there is a court at the state level in Australia, New South Wales, and there is a court at the national level. So all of them, they had a unanimous judgment. They convicted the doctor. They slapped a fine of $800,000. Why? They say that sympathetic ophthalmia, the probability of developing this condition is 1:14,000. But this factor was not disclosed to the patient while taking her consent. Consent is there, but this factor 1:14,000 not disclosed. So as if a very big crime has been committed. So this is a situation from Australia. The three courts have said that informed consent should have been included this information as well, just for your information. Then medical records, and everybody knows medical record have to be properly kept. I have landed in a situation where the reply came from a very big hospital. It was my own hometown of Ludhiana. Sorry.
So could you summarize in 2 minutes?
So they say the record is taken away by termites. It has been washed away in floods and like that. This is medical record. And SOP, just one line on this. Whenever I said SOP, no SOP was there anywhere. So the last line is medical literature. So my humble request is that if there is an informed consent, there is a SOP, if there is medical record, so you must feel that you are safe from medical legal litigation. Nothing can be done. And then these are some cases. I'm not touching upon that because I don't have time. This slide you should see very clearly when we are talking of Project Archana and all that. So far as the criminal aspect of the litigation is concerned, the law is very well laid out by the Supreme Court in 2005. Jacob Matthew versus State of Punjab. Nothing can be done against the doctor unless you have a medical opinion from independent and competent medical officers. Nothing can be done. Now, in this case in hand, this Project Archana case, it is simply, in a police station. So there is a thanedar. There is even below that there is a constable, head constable. So if somebody has registered an FIR, that is not the end of the matter. It is simply a writing on a paper. After that, the things have to be moved in accordance with the guidelines, the procedures and everything listed very adequately in this Jacob Matthew versus State of Punjab. So nothing would have happened in my mind that if there is investigation, there is litigation in the court and all that, simply registering an FIR does not matter at all. So my request is, kindly do not get bogged down that if somebody has registered an FIR and you just try to placate the police, does not matter at all. This is what I had to say. Then there are so many cases. Bolam is 1957. It says very clearly that if a body of medical opinion, it says something, this is international law, then the courts have to believe it. So if some court does not believe it, if some court otherwise, I will call it an exception. But everywhere in every country, it is believed that where a body of medical opinion says that something done by the doctor is all right, so no negligence is made out. So this is all I wanted to say. This is Physicians Pledge, World Medical Association in 2017, they amended. So it is like a Hippocratic oath, redefined. So it says, I will respect the autonomy of my patient. I will practice my profession in accordance with good medical practice. So this is WMA. So my point is, in the last slide, the way forward should be whatever has been stated by the honorable speakers before me, that must be done. You must organize yourself. You must keep on changing notes. You must discuss the situations and bring it to the point that there is no need of litigation at all. So let it be done by the NMC, Medical Council of India and all that. We shall be very happy if the cases don't come to the court at all. And once again, I assure you, there is no need for any scare. So far as criminal litigation is concerned, Supreme Court has very well defined the principles. And my last point, touching upon the violence part, that also I must tell you, in the year 2008, I was Home Secretary in the state of Punjab. on the request of the Indian Medical Association, Punjab branch, we had framed a new legislation. The title is Prevention of Violence Against Doctors Act 2008. I can share a copy with you also. And my friends in the medical profession tell me that after that law was passed, the incidence of violence has reduced to a great extent, rather reduced to minimal after 2008. Before that, and there is a lot of change, and that law has been replicated in 15 more states as per my information. So violence part is different, medical legal part is different, and whenever I get a chance, I am there at your disposal based on my experience on this side. I am there always. And please, last line is, please be reassured. Please don't feel that there is any scare. Doctor used to be God, doctor is still God. Only a sufferer knows. And you do your job without any fear or fervor. And the things are there to protect you, to help you, and all that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Gupta, for your elaborate talk. As I understand that so far as the Consumer Redressal Forum complaints are concerned, so informed consent becomes very important. And the patients, and we need to understand that we need, for the consent to be valid, we need a patient's signature as well as a witness signature with the relationship with the
Doctors
patient.
also. Doctor.
Yeah, and the doctors also with the date and the day and the date enumerated. And only then it becomes a valid legal document. Is that so, sir?
I don't say so, but doctor, this is the Royal College says. So yeah. I'm again saying I'm using the word request. Please see that document. If you want, I can share a copy with you.
Okay.
So whatever your own profession says, please do that.
Okay. There are two scenarios. One is a medical legal thing, which is a complaint in the consumer forum that takes its own slow course. And then there is another knee-jerk reaction on part of the patient and the attendants, which happens within the premises in the form of violence or aggression. What we would like to know is that is the police within its rights to arrest a doctor or to take any legal course of action on the complaint of the patient, or do we have our own rights?
You just, I will say I'm trying to generalize. This kind of situation can develop in any situation.
Yeah.
It can happen inside a factory. It can happen inside a business premises.
Yes.
It can happen inside a clinic. So anywhere anti-social elements, any people, they have their own vested interest, even the political part and all that. Just जैसे कहते हैं लीडरी चमकाने के लिए. All these things are there. So I don't say that you are immune from that. You can land in a situation, but it has to be handled coolly and calmly, as you have yourself said.
Yes.
And after that, the courts are there to have that shield of protection. Even now, you know, although for the medical legal high courts are not concerned, it is only the consumer courts and the Supreme Court. But even now, I go to the high court for the local adalat and all that. So all kind of things are there, writs are there and all that. So the law is very well laid out all over the world. There is no need for scare at all. This is all I wanted to say. Yeah. Be reassured.
Yeah.
No need to run after the police. No need to feel that we have to do this and all that, muscle strengthening and all that. Nothing needs to be done. You do your job. This is what I want to say.
Thank you, sir. So we, at the end of this session, I would like to say that it's important to build your own first line of defense, and which is you and your friends and your WhatsApp groups or your local self-help groups, which would help you out in your time of need. And your documentation, when you are in a way you are delivering a service to the patients, your own documentation, medical records should be absolutely up to the mark. And so that if at all you have such a situation to arise, you are on the safe side.
You see, in my I tell you a life situation in Chittor. Like I told you, my wife is a dermatologist. So there was I just was accompanying her as a spouse. So they made me speak for 2 minutes. So I said SOP. So the local president of the Chandigarh Dermatologist Association, he says, I take it upon myself. We will develop SOP. I said, you develop, and something signed by you as president or secretary, even that is acceptable in evidence. And they have started doing it. But when I talk to our own, children and or most of my family members are doctors in America and all that. When I talk to them about informed justice, they say, what are you talking? Here everything is there. SOPs are also there. But why not in your country? So my request is that even your WOS, you can have a set of SOPs. You can just issue them among your staff. And whenever there is a situation, if even that is produced in the court will take note of it. You just believe court doesn't know anything. Court has to hear two parties. One party speaks, then court says other parties speak. This is what I also used to do. And then you keep on hearing, taking down notes. After that, you close the file and say, okay, the case is adjourned for pronouncing the orders. Order is deferred and all that. So then you sit coolly, calmly, you start thinking what was spoken here, and then something falls, from above. They said, iski baat theek hai, and that is the order. This is what the court does. You should say court is a totally ignorant person. And whenever there used to be anything technical, our office was in what they call it, Khan Market or something. And across the road is All India Institute. So we always used to make a reference to the Director Ames. Please constitute an expert group and advise us. Is there any negligence or not? So whatever the report comes, so I am very happy. I just dictate my order that as per this, there is no negligence. The point is, you will feel that I am overgeneralizing the things, but it is a reality of life that you pick up. Okay, you pick up any 10 files, maybe in the National Commission, District Commission, and you examine it yourself. Even you will come to know many things are lacking.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. We would carry this discussion forward in our WOS conference, and where we are going to have a session on this, and all the panelists and whomsoever and all those who are joining in. We can have this dialogue further, and you can have your questions ready, and it can be in a physical basis during the WOS conference.
I shall be available all the time. No problem.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
As a social work, I will be available all the time.
Yes, and I would request Dr. Mohita for her comments. Dr. Mohita. Dr. Anjali, if you would want to say something.
No, I think the panelists have built a beautiful foundation and given us so many ideas, to move ahead. And really given us a lot of food for thought, which we are going to work on. So I thank all of them very deeply from the bottom of my heart for giving us wonderful ideas and sharing their so many insights and experiences with us. Very nice of all of you. Thank you so much.
And thank you. And this brings us to the end of this webinar. And till we meet again during the WOS conference.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anjali and Dr. Ranjana, for giving an
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Deepmala.
Thank you.
Wonderful talk. Thank you, Dr. Anshal Gupta and Dr. Anupma Gupta.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for having us here.
Thank you, everyone, for having us here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.